Dakshya online-मा यहाँहरूलाई स्वागत छ। In our today's video, we are going to talk about one of the famous Nigerian writer, Chinua Achebe, and his story Civil Peace. आजको यस भिडियोमा हामीहरू सुप्रसिद्ध नाइजेरियन लेखक चिनुवा एचेबेको एक कथा सिभिल पीसमा केन्द्रित रहनेछौँ। चिनुवा एचेबेको ब्याकग्राउन्ड हेर्दाखेरि ऊ एक नाइजेरियन नोभलिस्ट, कवि, प्रोफेसर र एक क्रिटिक हुन् र उनको पहिलो उपन्यास थिङ्स फल अपार्ट जुन 1958 मा प्रकाशित भएको थियो, यो आधुनिक अफ्रिकन साहित्यमा धेरै पढिएको पुस्तक हो। चिनुवा एचेबे, born in 1920 and died 2013, was a Nigerian novelist, poet, professor, and critic. His first novel, Things Fall Apart, which was published in 1958, is the most widely read book in modern African literature. The story Civil Peace, that was published in 1971, is set in the outcome of the Nigerian Civil War. कथा सिभिल पीस शीर्षकको यो कथा जो 1971 मा प्रकाशित भएको थियो, यो नाइजेरियामा भएको गृह युद्धको परिणामको बारेमा यहाँ उल्लेख भएको छ। It is about the effects of the Nigerian Civil War on the people and the civil peace that followed. यो कथा नाइजेरियामा भएको गृह युद्धको आम मानिसमा परेको प्रभाव र गृह युद्ध पश्चात भएको शान्ति सम्झौता पश्चात त्यहाँ भएका मानिसहरूको जीवनमा परेको प्रभावको बारेमा यस कथाले विविध रूपमा व्याख्या गरेको छ। Nigeria became an independent nation from the British colony in 1960. ब्रिटिश उपनिवेशबाट नाइजेरिया 1960 मा इन्डिपेन्डेन्ट भयो। The Nigerian Civil War began in 1967. तत्पश्चात 1967 मा नाइजेरियामा फेरि गृहयुद्ध सुरु भयो, when the Igbo tried to separate from Nigeria to form the independent Republic of Biafra. 1967 मा इग्बोले नाइजेरियाबाट एउटा छुट्टै मुलुक हुनको राज्य हुनको लागि त्यहाँ गृहयुद्ध चलाएको थियो। After enduring 3 years of bloody battles, the Igbo were forced to surrender in 1970, ending the war. 3 वर्षसम्मको रक्तपात पश्चात इग्बोले अन्ततः 1970 मा सरकार सामु घुँडा टेक्यो। Biafrans suffered a severe famine due to the effect of war. Nearly 1 million people died of starvation. Biafransहरू सो युद्धको कारण भुकमरी लगायतका समस्याहरूले ग्रसित भए। लगभग 10 लाख मानिसहरू सो गृह युद्धको कारण भुकमरीले अकालमा आफ्नो जीवन गुमाउनु पर्यो। Now let us talk about the characters of the story. Among different characters, the major character of the story is Jonathan Igbo. He had survived the Nigerian Civil War along with his wife and 3 of his 4 children. And now he faces the uncertain future with optimism. He gives thanks for what he does have rather than regret what he has lost. He counts all the blessings he has been given, chief among them his family, and after that his scant material possessions, his bicycle and his home. He uses these possessions to immediately begin rebuilding his life. The bicycle becomes a taxi, and the house becomes a bar. The one thing that Jonathan cannot cast a positive light on is the thief's assault. However, he still never complains about losing 20 pounds, a significant sum. Instead, the next morning finds Jonathan and his family hard at work again, already looking ahead to the future. यस कथाका प्रमुख पात्र जोनाथन, जो नाइजेरियन सिभिल वारका प्रत्यक्षदर्शी थिए, उनी सो युद्धबाट आफ्नो ज्यान बचाएका थिए। उनी आफ्नो श्रीमती र 4 मध्येको 3 सन्तानलाई उनले यस युद्धबाट बचाउन सफल भएका थिए। उनी आफूले पाएको यस जीवन प्रति भगवानलाई सदैव धन्यवाद दिने गर्दथे र उनले कदाचित आफूले गुमाएका कुराहरूको पश्चाताप गरेका थिएनन्। उनले जहिले पनि आफूले पाएका आशीर्वादहरूलाई मात्र उनले स्मरण गर्ने गर्दथे, जसमध्ये प्रमुख आशीर्वाद उनको लागि उनको परिवार, त्यसपछि उनीसँग बचेको केही सम्पत्ति जस्तो कि उनको साइकल र उनको घरलाई उनले विशेष महत्त्व दिएका हुन्थे। र उनी युद्ध पश्चात आफूसँग भएका वस्तुहरूको भरपूर प्रयोग गरी आफ्नो जीवनलाई सुदृढ बनाउन लागिरहेका थिए। उदाहरणको लागि उनले साइकललाई ट्याक्सीको रूपमा युज गरेका थिए भने घरलाई एउटा बारको रूपमा विकास गरेका थिए। एक विशेष कुरा जो जोनाथनले कदाचित आफ्नो जीवनबाट बिर्सन नसक्ने कुरा चाहिँ नै उनी तत्कालीन समयमा चोरहरूबाट उनले भोगेको अन्यायलाई उनी सदैव स्मरण गर्दछन्, जहाँ उनले 20 पाउन्ड रुपियाँ उनले त्यस चोरी काण्डमा गुमाएका थिए। तर पनि उनले 20 पाउन्ड गुमाए तापनि उनले आफ्नो जीवनलाई भने यथोचित रूपमा सञ्चालन गर्दै आइरहेका थिए। Next character that we find in the story is Maria, who is Jonathan's wife, and like her husband, she works hard to rebuild their family's life after the war. यो कथाको अर्को पात्र मारिया हुन्, जो आफ्नो श्रीमान जोनाथन जतिको नै मेहनती छन् र उनीहरू सँगै बसेर युद्ध पश्चातको आफ्नो जीवनलाई सुदृढ बनाउने कार्यमा संलग्न छन्। अर्को क्यारेक्टर यो स्टोरीको leader of the thieves हो। The leader of the thieves mocks Jonathan's family efforts to revive help. He understands that the neighbors and even the police are too frightened to come to the family's aid. The leader of the thieves, who is well armed, threatens violence against the Igbos to get Jonathan to turn over his money. यस कथाको प्रमुख भिलेन भनेको चोरहरूको नाइके हो। जस्तै जोनाथनको परिवार जब उनीहरू डकैत गर्नको लागि जोनाथनको परिवारमा आएका थिए, उनीहरूलाई गाली गलौज र बेइज्जत समेत गरेका थिए। Now let us talk about the story. Chinua Achebe wrote Civil Peace in 1971. Depicting through it the effects of the Nigerian Civil War on a man and his family. The war, which began in 1967 with the secession of several southeastern provinces from Nigeria, led to an intensive ethnic conflict and widespread starvation, destroying national infrastructure and shattering Nigerian society. The Igbo people of the southeast were particularly hard hit. Civil Peace focuses on Jonathan Igbo, a hard-working and optimistic survivor navigating the unstable post-war period. By accepting both gains and losses without losing hope or determination, Jonathan serves as a model for the reader. His persistence suggests that people, and by extension Nigeria and the Igbo people, can pull themselves back up. While highlighting the protagonist's strong behavior, the story also reveals the devastating produced by the Nigerian Civil War. Jonathan's losses include not only a job and money, but also his son. Nevertheless, civil peace remains surprisingly optimistic despite its realism, providing a glimpse into the aftermath of war and individual efforts at reconstruction. Now, let us move to the summary of the story. Jonathan Igbo had survived the Nigerian Civil War along with his wife and three of his four children, and so considers himself extraordinarily lucky. He also treasures his still working bicycle, which he buried during the war to ensure it would not be stolen. Another apparent miracle is his still standing home, that he repairs and reoccupies after returning home to the capital city of Ekna. To explain both his good and bad fortune to himself and others, he often repeats a phrase, "Nothing puzzles God." Jonathan works hard in the aftermath of the war, using his bicycle to start a taxi service and opening a bar for soldiers. His family mirrors his example, cooking food and picking fruit for sale. Since the coal mine where Jonathan worked before the war has not reopened, this toughness is crucial toward securing even their minor comfort. One day, after returning over rival currency, Jonathan is given an award of £20. He takes care not to be robbed, remembering a theft he observed several days earlier in which a man broke down in public over the indignity. That night, a group of thieves knocks on his door demanding money. Frightened, the family calls for the neighbors and police. But the heavy silence when they finish reminds them that nobody looks out for anyone but himself. The thieves then mock up at them, crying out even louder to indicate how helpless the family is. The thief leader demands £100, promising not to hurt Jonathan or his family if he cooperates. Eventually, Jonathan realizes their lack of options and gives the thieves the £20 of reward money so they will leave the family unharmed. Some thieves insist they should search the house for more, but the thief leader believes this is all Jonathan has and accepts it. The next morning, the neighbors come over to commiserate with Jonathan, but his family weren't at home. They were at their day's work. Jonathan told his sympathizers that the loss of £20 is nothing. The week before, he did not have the egg ration money, and he did not want to depend on it. The money went on easily from his hands, as did many other things in the war. Jonathan explains to his neighbors that the reward money cannot compare to what he lost in the war. He chooses to focus on his work in the present rather than regret what has happened, since nothing puzzles God. So, what are the morals of the story? The moral of the stories are: we should be optimistic. We should keep faith on God. We should be hardworking. We should care our family members. miracles in Jonathan's life. He had come out of the war with 5 inestimable blessings. He, his wife Maria, and 3 of their 4 children who survived the Civil War. Next thing is his old bicycle, which he got in fine condition after the war. He saved his bicycle, providing a £2 to the officer who commanded it. After that, he buried his bicycle and took it out of the ground. He started using his bicycle as a taxi. Within 2 weeks, he earned £115 through his taxi service. Jonathan then traveled to Igbo, the capital city, in search of his house. He became quite surprised and delighted to find his house still standing. Even though some nearby structures were reduced to the pile of debris from the war, he examined his house and concluded that his house needed some repairs. So Jonathan immediately collected available materials such as zinc, wood, and cardboard. He hired a carpenter to complete the housework. After the completion of the repair, he moved his family members back home. After their settlement, the entire family members worked hard to earn money and restore their lives. The children picked mangoes and Maria made akra balls, that is known as particularly made by deep frying of ground beans, to sell in the neighborhood. Jonathan used to work in the mines before the war, but when he realized that he could not regain his job as a coal miner, he opened a bar for the soldiers. Jonathan was thankful to God that he had family members, a home, and a job. Facing a lot of hardships, Jonathan's family did well, and then they even got a bonus from the government. The government started handing out a gratis payment of £20 in exchange for the Biafran money Nigerians turned over to the government's treasury.